Hi everyone, welcome to Freedom Friday. So today Tony's going to talk about something really interesting that kind of I was looking at that maybe 15 years ago, cymatics, vibrations, sounds, and I've been as a yoga practitioner and I used to teach yoga as well. I and of course practice it. I was quite interested in the idea of mantra and the power of sound. So yeah, really look forward to what you're gonna share with us today, Tony.
Okay, great.
Hmm.
Uh, Alrighty, well, without further ado, I will get into it. Just share my screen.
Yep. Okay.
So you can see that all right.
Yep.
So, the power of sound. Um, it's basically I'm exploring the science and the philosophy around manifestation through vibration and frequency. So when we think of sound, we need to think of energy and vibration, basically, because all sound is created through vibrating energy, basically. Um, Tesla made a very famous quote, which has always stuck with me, and I think the meaning of this quote is becoming realized now. And it's very critical, I believe, in my opinion, it's very critical to understand now. Um, and he said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So, what he's really saying is that we need to think in the terms of energy as a primary function of life. Energy is a template. It is the underlying template of all manifestation and all life, and everything is vibrating at a certain frequency. And depending on what frequency it is depends on how the physical manifestation shows up. And obviously, something that is living is going to be of a higher frequency, and whereas things that are inanimate, uh, well, generally will be of a lower frequency. Although, when you look at things like minerals, crystals, certain rocks, soil, and other living things in nature, then there's definitely a high frequency involved in those things. Um, yeah, so we've got to have this. To me, this is like rather than people are so preoccupied with what they see, and we need to be more preoccupied with what we don't see. We need to be more focused on what we feel, um, what we intuit. It's all energies. So we've got to get away from this absolute obsession of only believing something when you see it, because you're looking at the wrong end of the stick, in my opinion. So we have to reverse that, and we have to start looking at what we can't see and figuring out how that applies to our life and how we can raise our frequency. Um, so the principle of vibration is one of the seven hermetic laws of, as written by Thoth or Hermes, and these are fundamental principles of all life. These seven principles or laws, I go over them quite a bit because they are explaining the different types of frequency, the different types of energy and vibration. And the principle of vibration is the third principle of 7. They all actually follow a logical order. Starts with mentalism, and then it's the law of correspondence, which is the as above, so below, as within, so without. And then, so basically, God or consciousness creates the universe. From that, then we separate the above with the below, the earth from the stars, and that sort of thing. And then we move into the fact that everything is fundamentally vibrating. It's a logical sequence, and it states that all things, both physical matter and spiritual energy, hold a certain vibration. And then in the Kybalion, which is, I really recommend people get this book, the Kybalion. It's only a little tiny book, but it's like, to me, it's like a little Bible, really. And it says, under the law of vibration, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. So this is like depicting that, anything that we think is solid is not actually solid. Everything that we think is completely still is not completely still at an atomic level. It's actually moving. Everything is moving and vibrating. Just some are moving very, very slowly, and some are moving very, very fast. So, the saying, we know, oh, he's got good vibes, or there were good vibes at that party. I mean, vibe has obviously come from the word vibration, and it really is a truth. When you walk into a room, if it's got a good vibrational energy and the people, you will actually feel it, and you want to be there, and you get quite, animated. And if it's not good energy, you can feel that as well, and you generally makes you want to just leave because it just doesn't feel good. But to other people that are in that vibration, they will gravitate, they will resonate with each other. Misery loves company, as the saying goes, but so does joy. Joy also loves company. So we've got to go with our feeling, we've got to go with our gut, we've got to go with our intuition. These are our energetic gateways that depict, that enable us to discern what is good and what is not. So when we look at the sound and vibration, we've got to look at the ancient cultures and even religions going right back to the early history. They knew the power of sound and vibration very, very well. Every single ancient culture knew this fundamental truth, and they exhibited it through their practices. So just going through a list here I've got. I mean, the word in the beginning, in the Bible, it says, in the beginning was the word, and the word is really vibration. The word is not to be taken literally. It probably was not a word as we know it in any kind of particular language. It was an emanation of like a mantra, like a chant almost. That's the way I see it. And we can look at different types of sound. We've got prayer is a type of, prayer is the emanation of the word. So prayer helps to manifest things through thoughts. It can be a thought or feeling prayer as well as a spoken prayer. It doesn't have to be audible. Your thoughts are vibration, and they are primary for the way we personally create. along with feeling as well. Feelings and thoughts are our prayers. They are our imagination. They are the vibration that we put out into what we want and what we desire and what we visualize. And then other cultures, practice mantras, repetitive mantra. The sound of the word is, or the power of the word is in the intonation of the mantra, and the same with the chant. Chant is more like a Native American chant, whereas with mantras were followed, and practiced by Buddhists and Hindus and that sort of thing. Whereas chanting was more of a ritual chant or a shamanic type of ritual chant, and all our ancient peoples practiced these types of rituals. And then we've got music, as we know today, and there's music, and then there's just like 432 hertz. There's instrumental music, and there's singing music. And if it's at the right notes, it can be very harmonious. And if it's out of tune and it's not a good vibration, it will sound terrible. And then there's actually song as well, along with music. Singing is also a very powerful thing that was practiced by a lot of ancient people as well. And to this day, a lot of people do singing workshops. You're vibrating your vocal cords to create certain sounds. Very, very powerful. So, in keeping with the ancient tradition, I'm going to show a short video about these Tibetans who levitated rocks using sound. So I'm going to just got to bring up a new. Excuse me for a sec while I copy and paste this into my browser. Whoops. Yeah, so that's a pretty cool little story. It's a true story. I find it absolutely fascinating that they could levitate these huge rocks that weigh a few tons up a huge cliff and place it perfectly on the top of the cliff, exactly where they wanted it. So that's a perfect example of the power of sound. Now, I'm going to move more into the science behind sound, and I'm going to show another video on cymatics, and this is fascinating as well. This is very, very cool to watch this. So I'll just do the same thing, just copy and paste.
The film you're about to see has no characters. If you'll spare a little of your imagination, it is a film to describe to you the effect of cymatic frequencies on matter. Everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound.
Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that. I thought the music was really cool. It definitely had good vibes in that sound, as well as way he was showing how it can affect water and the fire like that is quite amazing. And when I saw that, I was just absolutely hooked. Um, so yeah, so it gives you an idea of what we're talking about here. So when we talk about music, the frequency of music, there's particular tuning. It can be tuned to certain hertz frequency. Think of hertz as just simply cycles per second. So 432 hertz is 432 cycles per second. So that frequency is a perfect heart resonance. And 528 is also a very powerful frequency, and there are others that are very powerful as well. 639 hertz, 741 hertz, and there are others. 800 and this goes right up to basically to 1,000 hertz. It's in this band between 432 and 1,000. There are some very powerful frequencies that each help to affect you in different ways. 432 is really good because it's a heart resonance. So that, and what's a very powerful thing that you can do is you can do affirmations to 432 hertz frequency in the background. Uh, affirmations on their own are not actually all that powerful, but when you put real intention and feeling into your affirmation, and you actually really believe what you are affirming is a real is can be a reality, then that's how you manifest. It's the feeling and it's the pure intention combined. So that's one little action that we can take that can help to use sound to bring things into manifest. Also, your mantra, your Om, maybe using Om and thinking of your vision or seeing your vision in your mind's eye is also powerful, and other adaptions as well that you may be able to create. Um, we can't talk about sound and frequency without referring to Dr. Royal Raymond Rife, who created the Rife machine that was used to basically kill the cancer cells by creating a certain resonant frequency. It basically just shattered the cancer. It just could not survive under the certain frequency that Rife developed. And of course, it got shut down by the powers that be. But these kind of technologies and these kind of early inventions, they are coming back with a vengeance now. Same with the med beds. There's also vibrational frequency of the med beds, and there are other devices as well that have been brought to the world now. The iTerracare wand that we are promoting, and also the EE system, or the quantum cubes, as I call them. They are also coming out to the public. Now, also, when we're talking about sound, we also have to talk about electromagnetics. Light essentially follows sound vibration. So we'll look at that. So electromagnetics, sound and light, how they're all interlinked. They're all basically part and parcel of the same basic foundation. So heat, think of if heat or warmth and light, physical light, is the result of an electromagnetic reaction or The presence of electromagnetism creates light and heat. There is light in the physical realms, but most light is in the invisible realms, which can be measured with certain instruments. Now, there is a certain theory, a certain hypothesis called the sonic propagation of electromagnetic energy components, SPEC. And this hypothesis states that all sounds have an electromagnetic component, and that all electromagnetism is created as a consequence of sound. So basically, it just shows how the two sides of the same coin. Excuse me. Excuse me. So where you've got an electromagnetic current, you're going to have sound, and when you've got sound, you're going to have electromagnetism. They both two peas in the same pod. And SPEC also predicts. So it also predicts that the electromagnetism created by sound propagation through the air will be modulated by the same sound periodices that created the electromagnetism. So that's basically stating what I just said before, that electromagnetism creates sound, and sound, the sound then impacts on the electromagnetism, and it's sort of like an oscillating kind of wheel of energy. Now, the other amazing thing about sound is it doesn't strictly create waves. We talk about sound waves. Yeah, they look like they on a two-dimensional chart. They look like a wave on a waveform, a sine wave. But in actuality, sound is creating a bubble, a spherical energy. This is when sound is traveling through the air. Sound will exhibit different properties when it's moving through different other objects and things. So, but sound moving through the air will create a bubble, and it will radiate out much like ripples on the surface of the water. Energy is spherical in primary nature. So that's very important. That's why the circle and spheres are, it's the most basic and most important, most underrated geometrical shape, because everything basically comes from spheres. And I believe, it's my own theory, that the Earth has been created from its core. There's a certain sound that is happening in the core of the Earth, in the molten core, and that is what is enabled to create the Earth into a sphere. I do not subscribe to the flat Earth theory. I think that is flat out BS, and I just cannot believe that this Earth is flat. There's too much evidence, too much science. Everything is spherical in creation, so the Earth itself is not going to be flat when we realize that energy is spherical in its primary state. So when I was talking about the sound waves or the sine waves, so this is a sine wave over here. So this is how they would look on a two-dimensional. But then when you look at certain geometrical patterns that are depicting energy, you can see what it's really like. This is sort of giving you an indication of how it radiates out from the center, and it creates these intersecting, the spheres then intersect, and that's what they call the vesica Pisces. That's where two circles intersect, and then it creates these. This pattern has obviously been adapted with a little bit more artistry, but we can look at other patterns like the flower of life. All spheres, everything is spheres, yet it makes these flower-like patterns like petals of a flower in the middle there, which is what they call the seed of life. And so this is literally showing us how things are created and manifested through the principles that we discussed before about the sound radiating out through in circular patterns. And so this flower of life is very sacred. It's been found way before any Christianity. It was found in the temples of Egypt, certain temples. It's been found engraved in stone and in different places around the world, etched into the rock. So clearly the ancients knew about the power of energy and vibration. And I've got up here, there's actually two components to electromagnetism, obviously, the electric plasma aspect and the magnetic aspect. And these are effectively nested spheroids, nested spheres, expanding and oscillating union through space. So basically, that's just saying that the electrical sphere and the magnetic sphere radiate out and then they intersect and collide with each other in a perfect union. And from that, we create matter. So this is looking at the flower of life again in its absolute basic black and white form. And now from here, I've got quite a few graphics that I just want to show. Here's another pattern, very beautiful. You can see the circles there. There's an inner circle and then there's a next circle out. And then it creates these beautiful patterns. And you can see the petal pattern there in the middle. And this is all spheres that create that pattern. So you can see how it's creating a lattice or a kind of a natural matrix. All just using radiating spheres from electromagnetism. Now, these are reputed to be the patterns that, if you could trace the relationships between different planets in our solar system, they're all oscillating in these spherical or elliptoid type patterns. And if you could trace the way they move over a few years, these are the patterns that they are making with each other. And I think that is like absolutely mind-blowing, but it creates these beautiful geometrical shapes. These are the paths that our planets are making with. It's like a dance, and they're creating these incredible patterns. If you could draw them in the air, that's what they would look like. Here's another thing. This is like a sea snake going through the water, and you can see how it's just creating the ripples. This is an image of this is a sperm that has just impregnated an egg in a mother's womb. So this, and see how again, you've got this circular pattern. You've got the beginnings of the fetus right there in the center, and you've got these circular patterns happening. So at the very beginning of life, that same pattern has been exhibited. This is the torus, and you can see it's even oscillating for us to show you how it's constantly radiating around. The torus is like the kind of ultimate, this is like the big picture blueprint. This is the ultimate shape in many ways that is depicting how energy moves and depicting our planets. There's a torus around every single thing, and it's oscillating through the top of our head, going down through the body, out through the legs, and moving around. So I think the torus has a big impact on how our aura is constructed. Here's some other fun facts, just on the same theme of sound and vibration. The human heart's magnetic field, and it's pretty amazing. The heart has a magnetic field of its own, and it can be measured several feet away from the body. In fetal development, the heart forms and starts beating before the brain is even developed. So that shows the absolute primacy of the heart. Positive emotions create psychological benefits in your body. This has been proved by science over and over and over again. You can boost your immune system simply by focusing on positive emotions. Positive emotions can increase the brain's ability to make good decisions. This is very important when we're doing complex tasks, when we're doing important decisions around in our life. When we're doing our crypto, this is why we need to keep our emotions out of the picture, and we need to have a clear mind when we're doing that kind of stuff. Negative emotions can create nervous system chaos, but positive emotions can do the exact opposite. And a mother's brainwaves can synchronize to her baby's heartbeats even when they are a few feet apart. And this is also depicted when you have two tuning forks together. If you hit one of the tuning forks, the other will start resonating at the same frequency as the other one. Even if that was oscillating at a different frequency and then you set off another one, eventually they would harmonize. So this also happening within people as well. This is why we pick up their energy. So if you look at, this is called the musical spiral of frequency, color, and light. So this is all byproducts of sound and vibration. Light comes from sound. Color comes from sound. And these are different hertz frequencies. Remember when we talked about the hertz frequencies? So this one's starting at, I'm just trying to read it, 252, I think it says. And then as each frequency goes up the scale, and then you get into this is the musical scales along these letters are the musical scales. And as you get into the other musical notes, you see how it's literally moving in the Fibonacci spiral. So that is another perfect example of how hertz, frequency, sound, and light are all connected in this perfect symphony. It's really quite an amazing graph that. Now, we also have to talk, all important, very important is our DNA. We, with harmonious sounds, we can literally build and grow our DNA. Now, when I say grow, I mean, it's said that we use about 4 to 6% of our DNA, or 4 to 6% of our DNA is actually active, and the rest, and our scientists call it junk DNA, which I think is an absolute abomination to say that. I've recently come to know that junk DNA is DNA that was seeded into us by various galactic races. This is what I've heard, and I totally resonates with me, that junk DNA is dormant DNA that hasn't been switched on yet. It was literally given to us by various galactic races, the Syrians, the Palladians, the Lyrans, the Andromedans. There's a whole bunch of races in the in our galaxy that are very, very friendly to us, and they actually created us. And and they created us as we are today. But that junk DNA, I believe, is going to become active over the next few, I don't know, generations, 100 years, maybe 1,000 year. But that DNA is going to start coming online. And I believe that it's going to be activated by either a solar flash or a massive burst of cosmic radiation, along with the photonic radiation that we're already in the photonic belt, the photon belt, which is really just particles of light. And so our DNA very much responds to sound very directly, and certain frequencies, playing 432 hertz, 528 hertz, harmonious sounds that resonate with you, I believe that is helping to activate our DNA. The DNA also has an amazing property in that it exhibits what's called biophotonic light. It actually has its own light source. And this has actually been measured. It's quite phenomenal, but we are literally a light being encoded into us. This is our code. This helix pattern. This is also the pattern of energy as it moves up through the spine. The connection between our base chakra and our pineal gland energies move in this pattern. The Ida and Pingala are the male and female energies that literally move up our spinal column, which is this is why it's called our staff of life. And as it says here, 1 gram of DNA holds as much as 600 billion CDs. So it is absolutely loaded with information. It's just not yet activated. So basically, everything is energy. Your thought begins it, your emotions amplify it, and your actions increase its momentum. So the thoughts, the feelings, and the actions, or the intentions, the attention, and your actual physical action, this is a very critical trinity to how we realize our dreams, how we manifest what we hold in our heart's desire. This is what we will create through clear thought, clear certainty, with emotions that are raised up to a high frequency of feeling emotions, not just base emotions, heart-based feeling, along with positive actions that support those intentions and feelings, those thoughts and feelings. So we have to put all three into action. We can have lots of wonderful thoughts, but if we don't feel the vibe and we're not taking action, nothing is going to happen. Nothing happens, nothing moves until we move. But it must be this trinity must be in harmony. It must be done in integrated harmony. So how you can tell if you're not in harmony is if you have a thought of what you'd like to create, but yet it doesn't feel right, or it just, you can't, you never seem to manifest it. It's possibly because that vision you have is not right for you. It's not what you really heart's desire. The heart will dictate what is right and what's wrong, and you will know by tuning into yourself. And you can also know as well if you start having conflict in yourself, or you start you can create discord and disharmony in yourself through your actions. So you have to go back to to your original thoughts and maybe change what they are to something that is more in line with what you really desire. So basically, that's my that's my presentation for today. I've kept it reasonably short.
Yeah, what happened, Tony, is that when you played that music video, Big Brother YouTube thought it was copyright, so it actually how do you say, interrupted the stream.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah, and then restarted the stream after that. So maybe you'd like to share where you got that video, and just if you could go back to the video and just show people where they can actually go and have a look at it.
okay. Just a sec. I'll put the light on. Did it show the whole video of the Tibetan video?
I think it was the more to do with the modern music, the Cymatics video.
Uh,
Yeah, not so much the Tibetan one. Yeah. In fact, I think that was fine.
right.
So if you want to open that one and then people can and share your screen, then people can go and look for it because someone said that they were really enjoying it.
Yeah, I can understand why. I really enjoyed it as well. I'm sorry about that. I had no idea. You didn't say anything.
Well, I didn't know anything. I just got an email from Rama's forwarding it from YouTube.
Oh, I see. Okay. Um, um,
Yeah, it was interesting about the Tibetans. When you look
mm,
at the various pyramids around the world, Stonehenge, for instance, the rocks in Stonehenge are about like 20 tons, and they were taken from somewhere which is like, I can't remember, but at least 100 kilometers away. So, how, a bunch of people 5,000 years ago, because there weren't that many people in England 5,000 years ago, I'm sure, how they managed to, take those 20-ton rocks. They must have used some form of technology and possibly sound. And someone else was saying they were looking at Machu Picchu, which is like something like 2,500 meters high, but the rocks from Machu Picchu are not from there. They were
mm,
taken from
mm, mm.
down in the ground, sea level or wherever. So really interesting how all this technology happened.
Yeah. Well, that video, it's called Cymatics, and then it's Science versus Music. Nigel Stanford.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So if you go to his channel, Nigel John Stanford, Stanford, and you
Yeah,
can subscribe to his channel, or if you just search, I just searched cymatics and it came up, but it's cymatics science versus music.
yeah.
Um, and look, you could play that a few times, and it does stir something up in you. I mean, it really does. Now,
Yeah.
how far in did it play before it
I
turned
don't
off?
know. I don't know. Because I couldn't see it myself.
Oh,
An interesting book that I got long time ago, in fact. 20 years ago is Healing Sounds: The Power of Harmonics by Jonathan Goldman, and there's a big section there on cymatics, and and Jonathan Goldman used to do workshops where he went around to talk about sound and things like
Yeah.
that. So it's quite interesting.
I remember him from my Lotus bookshop days.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, he was awesome. He put out a lot of amazing CDs actually. Just
All
to
right,
listen to music was absolutely out of this world.
right, right.
Really, really, really good. But anyone can go to YouTube and just key in 432 hertz or 528 hertz, and it will give you all the other hertz, the other different types, and experiment with them all. They're all really amazing in their own ways.
Mm,
But as you go up the scale, as you go up towards 900 and I think there's 963 hertz, and then that's activating more your pineal gland and your third eye,
mm,
whereas 432 is the heart. And then there are other frequencies lower than 432 that are quite good for your physical body as well. But 432 and 528, they're the ones that harmonize most with me, but everyone's different. Um,
mm,
yeah.
right. Yeah, and of course another aspect is the overtone chanting. So what some people like the Burmese and was it the Mongolians or somewhere where and the Greg Georgians maybe um, they actually created sound. So you create one sound, but there's overtones over it, and that creates all sorts of effects in the body and in your surroundings as well. Quite fascinating practice. I actually did that practice with a woman called Jill Peirce. She was quite well known for sound, kind of spiritual sound work back in the 80s.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Singing bowls as well is
yeah,
an
the singing
incredible
bowls.
singing bowls. Both I used to bring in the Tibetan and singing bowls, the seven medals. They'd have seven medals in the bowl, which was some of them just put in the most incredible sounds. And then there's the quartz bowls as well, which I had a
Oh,
beautiful,
yeah,
a
right.
massive, big quartz bowl, and then some little kid went up there and bashed it,
Oh, shoot.
side of it, and the whole thing shattered,
Wow.
and it was
Yeah,
incredible. It I was pretty upset because it cost me an arm and a leg, and it cost me about as much in freight as it did for the bowl to get it here,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah. Well, actually, yes. And I think we've kind of lost that connection with sound and rhythm because the rhythms that we get today are a lot of them are electronically produced, but when you get sound that is unplugged, acoustically produced either by percussion, by strings, by wind, and things like that. They have a certain quality that is more organic, I suppose. And I think it's really important to actually listen to that kind of sound from time to time in its original form rather than through a hi-fi or through speakers or headphones, but actually play those musical instruments. uh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, my Jenny's side of the family are very musical, and in
Mm,
fact, Jenny's mother, she's just turned 90 years old, and
right.
she is an, and I'm sure she plays the piano very well,
Mm,
uh, and it's because she's been around music and played music all her life. It's kept her very active and very. She's still a go-getter. She still drives everywhere. Just got her license, and I'm actually sure that it's her love for music and the music itself that keeps her alive. And
right, right.
because she's had a lot of health issues for 50 years, and yet
Mm,
she's still
yeah,
going strong at 90. So,
right. Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Actually,
so,
one other thing that I wanted to share was Jonathan, what's his name, Goldman, was talking about. the story of there was this monastery. It was like a Catholic or Christian monastery, yeah, Catholic, I suppose, monastery in France. And they decided in the 20th century to modernize because in this monastery they used to do their chanting 5 times a day or something like that. You know, they'd have their matins and their things and whatever, and they'd be chanting, right, as part of their prayer and practice. And they decided to modernize and get rid of the chanting. They thought it was a waste of time, and so they stopped it. And the monks started getting ill, and you know they're all like one after the other falling ill and whatever. And they thought, oh well, maybe it's something to do with their diet, so they gave them, they thought they needed meat, you know, because they were on a vegetarian diet. This is this whole thing of trying to solve a problem by making another problem. So they vegetarians, they said, oh, these guys need meat, so they gave them meat to build them up, and then they got more ill. um, and then finally someone cottoned on, well, maybe it was something to do with the chanting, you know. And they started chanting again, and then they were all happy and they got better again. So and what Jonathan is saying is that we've got so used to third party music, third party sound. It's like we are no longer singing, right? Maybe we might sing a little bit in the shower, but we no longer sing. And singing creates a vibration in the body, and especially in the heart, right? Because
Yeah.
your chest is close to your vocal cords, so you're creating these vibrations in the heart, and that actually is incredibly emotionally healing. Vibrations heal the emotions, they heal grief, they heal sorrow. You know, it is so powerful that way. Um, but also, but also, it's like the mother singing when the baby is in the womb. You know, that is an incredibly healing and communicative thing also, you know, between the mother and the baby, and sometimes fathers also. Apparently when babies are born, they can actually recognize the father's voice. They respond to it. So
Yeah, I believe. Yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing. There's so much to it. I mean, we could talk about so many examples of
yeah,
how
yeah,
sound and energy and vibration are it's almost like magical stuff, really,
mm,
in a
mm,
way. And but yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting the ITeracare one because that
yeah,
is using well, it's not using sound, but it's using frequency. That's for sure. It's
mm,
using scalar waves and infrared
yeah,
light. So you know, it's and ultimately that is coming from sound anyway. If you listen, and crystal. I was always remember when I read about crystals and crystals, much like water. Water is actually a liquid crystal, and real crystals like quartz crystal is it's encapsulated light and sound. It is literally frozen um, light.
yeah, right. And
Um,
when you apply pressure to it, it creates electricity as well.
yeah, because it's piezoelectric and it's
Yeah,
pyroelectric. So
right,
piezoelectric is when you apply just pressure from your hand is enough to create electromagnetic current. But
right,
if the heat of your hand creates the pyroelectricity,
right.
and that's how it creates electromagnetic. That's how crystals heal, is
Mm,
through the connection you know, with our energy and
yeah.
our thoughts. And whatever you think, those thoughts are getting amplified and transmitted by the crystal
Mm,
or what you feel. That's why you've got to cleanse crystals quite often. We'll put them out in the moonlight and put them in the grass.
right.
Yeah, but that's another whole topic again. In fact, I could do a presentation now. I've just suddenly thought of another thing I could present on is crystals and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. True.
minerals and and yeah, the power of the mineral kingdom is
And
just
all these things are linked through vibration, right? All these topics that you've been talking about really have been linked through vibration.
everything is linked to the seven main principles that Hermes postulated.
Mm,
Everything I'm talking about, it's about our mind, it's about vibration, it's frequency, it's rhythm, it's polarity, and it's well, gender. Gender is not so much figured, but it is an interesting topic. Of gender is really referring to the male and female poles.
mm,
It's referring also to polarity. That's why it follows after the law of polarity. Gender can be depicted in as positive and negative,
yeah.
a charge.
Yeah. I think people confuse gender with sex, like,
Yeah,
man, woman, but actually, gender is something bigger than that. It's more
yeah,
primal. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It is. It's another form of energy. Yeah,
Hmm. Cool.
yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. All right. Well, um,
Yep.
I guess that I'm trying to make the presentations a little bit shorter because I know, it's Friday afternoon and people want to get on with their thing. And I think sometimes trying to do a shorter, more visual presentation has more
Yeah.
effect than long-winded words
Yeah.
and going on too long.
As we can tend to.
Yeah,
uh, yeah. No, that was good. Thanks, Tony. So
yeah,
yeah, we'll catch up with you all next week, and in the
yeah.
meantime, have a great weekend.
I recommend everyone check out Cymatics. Watch a few Cymatic. There's quite a few others on YouTube as well
Right.
where they do experiments the same.
Yeah.
And but that one on John Stanford, that is good because the music is, you know, I think he created that music.
Hmm. Hmm. Cool. All
Awesome.
right. Well,
Right, thanks. Oh, thanks, Josh. Thank you,
yeah.
Susan, Josh, Fiona.
Fiona, everyone,
Always,
Blair.
always a pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah.